Hello everyone. This presentation will be discussing the current problem faced by the Rappahannock River with regards to pollution. We will be discussing the main problem and what this means for the river and the river health currently.
Our project looked more into the pollution that is caused by fertilizer runoff, and because of this runoff of excess levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, and other sediments have been found in the Rappahannock River. And to the left shows water quality standards, which has been an assessment that has been ongoing since 1985, and although the graph only shows until 2018, it's still an ongoing process. This assessment has been done by the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality and the Old Dominion University. So the Rappahannock River has been split up into 4 sections. The first section is the tidal fresh, the second is the oligohaline, the second is mesohaline, and the fourth is one tributary of the Rappahannock, which is the Corodaman River. So there have been 12 stations stretching from the tidal fresh region near Fredericksburg to the mouth of the Rappahannock flowing into the Chesapeake Bay. Water quality data at these stations are also used to assess attainment of dissolved oxygen, water quality criteria. These standards were developed for the tidal Rappahannock to protect aquatic living resources. And so the green boxes show that this part of the river is safe for aquatic life to live, and the white means that it is not safe and it contains levels of nitrogen, phosphorus, and other sediments. So you can see that in 1985 it kind of started off strong, but since around 2016 to 2018 it started to decrease, and levels of these chemicals have increased, making it not safe for aquatic life.
Okay, so for some more information on the Rappahannock River pollution, there is a total maximum daily load that is used as a regulatory tool and process that establishes the maximum amount of a certain pollutant allowed in a water body and serves as a starting point for restoring water quality as the grade of a level drops over years. We've seen this decline in the quality of the Rappahannock River drop from a C to a D in recent years, and so the total maximum daily load tool works to set a pollution diet to a stream or river. In this case it would be the Rappahannock River, that assesses the current level of pollutants of concern and develops a set of strategies for reducing pollutants back to a safe and healthy level. The graph on this screen shows the nitrogen load, the phosphorus load, and sediment load, which are 3 of the biggest factors in the river that are causing the grade to drop. Obviously you want the numbers to be lower, and you can see from 1999 to 2002, those years were the lowest for all 3 of those. And obviously you want the numbers to be lower, so you can see how that has shifted throughout the years and what has caused it to drop in grade over the years.
So while working on our project, we decided to partner with a well-known organization that helps to ensure the health of the Rappahannock River. And this organization is known as the Friends of the Rappahannock. And they've been around for many years and are very vital to the health of the river. They do these scheduled cleanups where they pick up trash, and we were able to volunteer and help clean up the river firsthand. And what we noticed was there was a decent amount of trash that we saw, not excessive, but it was still concerning, the amount. A lot of it was actually in like nooks and crannies and things, in places that were not very visible, that they had become trapped in those areas. So we do see that even though this is not a landfill amount of trash. It's still a problem because it can accumulate over time, get in these nooks and crannies, and eventually make it to the river. So help is still necessary. These cleanups are still vital to at least get rid of surface trash.
So I also participated in the river cleanup day, and one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of the trash that we did find, it seemed to be like very old, and I felt like these cleanup days were necessary because eventually those types of trash and everything would eventually end up in the river, and they would end up polluting it. They would end up in the Bay Area, which is really essential for many types of aquatic water life. So I feel like participating in river cleanups like such as this one is important to keeping the Rappahannock River clean.
We wanted to learn more about the Rappahannock River and its health, so we decided to speak with Professor John Tippett, who is the Executive Director of Friends of the Rappahannock from 1995 until 2014. He said that he's cautiously optimistic for the river's health, meaning that he doesn't want to put all his eggs in one basket yet and be completely optimistic, but there have been a lot of conservation efforts made by groups like Friends of the Rappahannock and by laws like the Clean Water Act that have already helped to protect the river's health. We asked him what the current biggest health challenge of the Rappahannock is and what the current health is looking like, and he said that the biggest challenge are dead zones and areas of low dissolved oxygen. This happens when there's a high nutrient input into the river, causing algae blooms.
So as we talked about, fertilizer accumulation is the biggest problem faced by the Rappahannock River currently. Now, you might be asking, how does this fertilizer essentially get into the waterway? Well, it does so through several different routes. Mainly, it enters through the agricultural industry. So, essentially, farmers, when they are cultivating crops, will add fertilizers to add nutrients to the soil. Now, sometimes they put too much of these nutrients into the soil, and the excess that is not absorbed by the different plants and crops they enter into the soil and get into the groundwater system, or rain will basically wash them off the land into the nearby streams and rivers. So that is the main route for the fertilizer runoff. The second route is through essentially wastewater treatment plants and facilities. So when wastewater is treated and it enters back into the waterway system, they sometimes do not treat it properly, and they leave nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen behind, and these nutrients enter into the waterway system and add to the abundance of fertilizer and runoff in there. Now, the third route would be basically anytime someone uses fertilizer sprays in their yard for their grass to help it be greener and healthier, that will run off when it rains into sewer drains and the like, which will eventually lead to the river system. Now, what do all of these fertilizer, the accumulation of these nutrients mean for the waterway system? Well, they will lead to what's called eutrophication. And eutrophication is just the abundance of fertilizer and nutrients in waterway systems. And what these cause are dead zones. They create dead zones where there is low levels of oxygen. They do this by leading the growth of algae, which covers the surface of the water, blocking sunlight. And then when these algae die, the bacteria in the water digest them, and they use oxygen to do this. And by doing that and using this oxygen to break down the algae, they deplete those the algal areas in the water of oxygen and starve those portions of the river and basically starve the aquatic life in those different parts of the river where the algae are. And that is what we eating the
Okay, so when we talked to Professor Tippett, one of the acts he discussed that helped the river is called the Clean Water Act. So the Clean Water Act was enacted in 1948, and back then it was called the Federal Water Pollution Control Act. But it was only until around 1972 that it was renamed the Clean Water Act, and during that time it was reorganized and it was expanded. And basically what this act does is that it requires companies to obtain a permit in order to dump pollutants, and it's actually illegal to dump these pollutants without said permit. So some point sources are that individual homes that are connected to a municipal system, they use a septic system, or do not have surface discharge do not need this permit, but industrial, municipal, and other facilities have to obtain this permit if their discharges go directly into surface waters. So some things that help, some enforcements that help enforce this rule are the Clean Water Act compliance monitoring and water enforcement.
So through our research, we found multiple solutions that would help the Rappahannock, one of which would be incentivizing farmers. Through agricultural cost share programs, federal and state funding would be provided for farmers to defray their costs from installing conservation practices, such as creating ways to control livestock nutrient release and fertilizer runoff. Another thing that would be really helpful is advocating for the health of the Rappahannock in conjunction with state governments, which groups like Friends of the Rappahannock are already doing. But in conclusion, we found that there isn't really one solution currently that will help solve this problem. It's going to be a big team effort, and it's going to need help from all levels, state, local government, citizens, small groups, etc.
This slide lists our sources. One of our biggest sources for this project was Professor Tippett, as his many years of experience with the Friends of the Rappahannock were very beneficial to our work and elucidating what the main problems faced by the river are currently and what possible solutions can be done. Thank you for watching our presentation.